Dun, dun. The age of miracles. And the age of miracles begins with knowing that miracles are just natural, and it's natural to get connected because we're always connected because it's the presence and that's the gift. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So, shall we, Mr. Thunderbear? Mr. Thunderbear. No, it's not a Mrs. Thunderbear, it's a Mr. Thunderbear.
I identify as a Mister.
Okay.
Mr. Miller?
Mister didn't even see her.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's a swirly one for me today. It's almost like I have a hula hoop. That's what it Anybody else feel anything different?
No. Not today.
Same old, huh? No. Okay. Just me, I guess, eh? All right. Joan tries not to identify with not gender, it's just feeling. So there was, can you actually just be with that, just Joan, and just like, you're being with it, but you can't like, you can't put words to it?
Well, I could if I tried, but I try not to, because then I either start adding or taking away. So it was better than last time, or it was worse than last time, or it was this, or it was that. And then I get into the comparison thing. So I prefer just to ignore what I would label it in my head and just not pay attention and try and assign words to it.
Stop getting sidetracked and just feel it rather than think it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should stop labeling ourselves too.
That helps.
Is that why we're not going to identify with a particular gender anymore? Yeah, kind of goes along with that, don't you think?
Well, that's a hot topic if you want to get into that.
Well, I actually would like to talk about what people think are miracles, and but I kind of feel like miracles, what most people think are miracles, are just natural in the scope of the universe because it's beyond our imagination. That's why we've labeled it a miracle, that labeling thing.
Well, then I think actually miracles don't really exist, because if they're nice and natural, then whatever they are is just a natural way of being. And we just say they're miracles when we think of the world as really small. We have to have a miracle to make it seem bigger.
And people like to be seen as special. So when they have miracles, then it's like, look what happened to me. Oh, you don't have a miracle? Oh, you poor thing. So.
See, for me, miracles is more for the religious people, to keep people in line with the religion. You know, spiritual people will see like what would be so-called miracle as just being able to see what's obvious to, or should be obvious to us. You know?
I think it touches on too that we have to put a meaning to everything, every minute little thing. for it to have value. When it's all got value, everything has value. It doesn't have to have a meaning to be more or less than anything else, I think.
Because it's kind of a miracle that we're even here, right? If you know, like everything in our life could be considered a miracle when we actually look at it. It just has become routine for most things, and we haven't even considered how amazing it is of what's around us.
I think
I watched a short video of someone was talking, and they were saying that, like, if you say your child is special, someone is special, this is special, whatever, like, you know, terminology like I've got a rainbow child, or my child is special, or my whatever. It kind of implies indirectly that everything else is not special. You know, when in fact we are all special, and we're all of value, and we're all a miracle. And like Joan said, and what we're saying is, it's really a little bit of it makes you feel good to say that your child is special, or your something is more special than. So I enjoyed the way that it was explained anyway.
Maybe you need to explain it again, just Joan.
I think Tanya was referring to the way she heard that explained about having a special child. Yeah, because if I'm special, everybody else isn't. You know, that's like if I'm spiritual, somebody else isn't. If I have miracles, you missed it.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it puts value on something when we're all valuable, and we're all equally a miracle. You go back to God. God's not going to go, you're better than this one because I made you look different, or because I want you to feel like this, or you've got different colored hair. We're all equally miraculous.
What about those like sporting events when people pray to God and they win the gold medal and they go, oh, thank you, God. Or they get the Academy Award. Aren't they special?
Oh yeah, God has favorite sports teams for sure. Yeah.
I'm going to hell then, because I don't
you
watch
can tell
sport,
everybody who does that. You know. Oh yeah.
Can someone define what a miracle is, please?
Good point.
Something something unexpected. That's my only thing on that.
So like robbery or a house fire.
Yeah.
I went outside today. It was blue sky, but I got rain. So is that a miracle?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, yes, I think everything in one sense is a miracle, but it's just natural. Like it's that sense of awe and appreciation for moment by moment experience of life. Because I don't know how the sun shines and it rains at the same time. Right? I don't even know how my fingers are moving now and I'm talking at the same time. Like, I don't know any of this stuff. It's beyond my concept. And even though somebody might tell me, well, my brain is wired this way, blah, 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 blah. Is that really true? So I think everything is kind of an awe-inspired moment that is beyond my comprehension. How's that?
Well, Joan's heard me say this before. You walk into someone that's feeling lonely and sad, you walk up, you're totally unique, just like everybody else. So you could say a thing about, you're so special and one of a kind, but just like everybody else. So we've kind of missed what we're supposed to be thinking in these little individual ways and this bigger way. Like, I think the hardest part of having a spiritual revelation on the planet is, like, let's go with the concept as a miracle as it's commonly known now. And I'll just, because I think it's different than it's commonly known, but most people think of a miracle as something that happened to somebody else, and they can't imagine that it would happen here. They just don't think of it in those terms. Almost never. I was watching a program today. They had a couple doctors on there. They were talking about a certain percentage of the population that doesn't actually, their imagination doesn't work like most people. Like they don't imagine themselves being on holidays. They don't imagine their life being better. It's like they truly have limited imaginations. And I don't know what percentage of the population that is. Like I have no idea. But so I think even people that have a vivid imagination, they always imagine like that miracle is something that happened to somebody else in a faraway place. They don't associate it with something really close. And that is to me the biggest stumbling block in any sort of spiritual revolution on the planet. Because there are days that I believe it way more than I do other days. Like, some days when I'm right in that zone, it's like, I play cards online with my one sister and her partner and Perry Sound with Kristen and I always just gamble on the most ridiculous cards. And they're going, "What are you doing?" And I always say, "I'm just looking for a miracle." I say that and they're tired of hearing it. Well, I don't know if they're tired of hearing it because I get really, really lucky often. So I don't know what you call that.
Would a miracle be something that somebody cannot explain by normal means? Something out of the ordinary? Simple as that? You would consider a miracle.
Yeah, somewhere I think there's probably like 1,000 definitions for it, but like for sure that would be one.
I would kind of concur with you, Eastern Eagle, that that's how most people view things, right? It's like, how did that healing occur? Because the medical doctor said you can't be healed, right? And then someone had a healing, so it's got to be like we all prayed, right? Or there's something that happened that created the event. Did it, or did it just happen? I think that's the kicker, is everybody still wants to be involved. And if they're not involved and it happens, then it's a miracle.
Yes. Well, like that, yeah, that gets into gray area for sure because medical science will never really say miracle. They'll just say it's unexplained or something like that because that would be the medical model admitting that there's a great knowledge that they don't have. And I don't see that happening really, really soon.
Well, I think they do their. So I know of a guy who was on life support, and long and short of it is, when his wife finally felt like it was time, and she was very spiritual and tuned in, to unplug, he didn't die, right? He actually started to recover, and there was a lot of tuning in being done for him. Not Nobody knew what he was going through, but people were just asking for his highest and best. And anyways, the doctors all gathered around afterwards, and they're like, "Oh, this is amazing. I think the only thing we need to do is give him a heart transplant now. Give you a heart." And he was like, "No, you had nothing to do with my healing at this point, so you're not touching my body anymore." So I think they need doctors. Again, they're so scientific. People need to grab on to something concrete. And when they can't, they're still fishing for something to explain, like a label, like we started out, labeling things.
So then the question I think from my perspective is what you get out of telling yourself that you're not a miracle, or telling someone else or anything else that they're not a miracle, that it's naturally miraculous. Because if you do, then it benefits someone else. You know, like with the medical thing, with this person is miraculously healed, they whatever's going on in the body, but then the medical professionals are going like, oh well, you know, it must be because of this and this and this. There is a benefit for the medical society by saying like, we know better than you, when naturally the body is doing what it's doing, or has created this miraculous event, you know, that has healed itself.
I'm not sure what you said there in the beginning. I'll just repeat it. Like it sounded like who are we to go say that you're not experiencing a miracle?
No, like what this is Jacqueline says this a lot all the time, and it does. I use this often because it's a good way for me to kind of step out of something in my head. But it's like, what benefit do I get out of saying that something is not a miracle, or that I'm not miraculous, or that I am not capable of naturally in my body creating healing and or whatnot in myself? Who benefits from you or me or anyone else saying that no, I can't do that? If it comes to like the medical, like we're talking about it, like, you know, a person who's ill or whatever, and the medical society is going, well, you know, you have to have a heart attack. Sorry, you have to have a heart transplant now, what Jacqueline's talking about. And this person's going, no, you had nothing to do with my healing. It was my, naturally, my body, my whatever happened occurred without you. So who benefits from being told that they are not a miracle to create healing in themselves in the first place? Who benefits from that?
Big pharma.
Right? So someone's benefiting. This is what I'm saying is I think that, like with everything, we've been so conditioned to think that we're not capable of, or that we're not a miracle in and of ourselves. My perspective is that if we're created by spirit, then why is spirit going to go there and go like, oh, you know, I'm going to make you less? I think you're less of a miracle. I think for me, spirit knows that we are all a miracle in and of ourselves. So who benefits from that? It's us in our mental processes, thinking and believing what someone else has told us, when it's intuitively listening to what is for ourselves.
Are you guys following? Like, it's like we all know that we're unique and special, right? So everybody's unique and a miracle. So why have we been so called trained to think, you know, everything's a miracle, right? Who benefits from keeping us playing small, that miracles aren't constantly happening? The unexpected is what's normal or natural.
And or for yourself, even if it's not for someone outside of you, what do you get in telling yourself that you're small, that you're limited, that you're less than?
Hey, Joan, I think your mic is crackling.
I hear half of what you guys say. Somebody's microphone is going. Yeah, just Joan.
It's not just me.
No, but I can't hear half of what everybody says because
Miracle! The clicking went away.
Thank you. I think it's a good idea we mute when we don't talk. Eh?
When you ask, sorry, go ahead.
But you guys can mute me too because I speak too much, so I'll do it myself.
Okay. I think Danny, you should give someone else that control.
I divorced 3 times already. Sorry.
He barely said anything this show, so it's perfect.
So who benefits? I think if we start getting into that, then we're going to run down the rabbit hole for sure. Because if we focus on who does it hurt, and then fix that, and then who does it benefit won't matter if we're not hurting ourselves anymore. You know what I mean? That
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
yeah. So like instead of chasing down that rabbit hole, which I'm sure everyone here has done, and still does once in a while, it's more important. Like years ago, I had this family called me up, and they thought there was all these monsters and demons in their house, and I said, well, there may or may not be, but I said, what I know for sure, if you are well protected and nothing can harm you, then it doesn't matter what's there. So I went down, did the energy work on the kids and the mom, and they were ready for divorce, and it was like getting really nasty. And I don't know how it ended up years later, but they called me in a couple of weeks, and they just said like they've never got along so well, and it's so peaceful and all that stuff in their house. And that's how I view it for most of the time, right? For sure, there's the odd time when there's an energy that's a little bit bigger than what you can do temporarily, but there's always a way around it. There's always a way around it. And talking about, who gets miracles, who doesn't, who's special, who's not, and all that sort of stuff. When I was at Frederick's the other day, and this experience happens more than I want. Like the one guy sitting beside me is going, "Oh, it's such an honor," and I went, "No, stop yourself." Right there. I said, if you want to honor someone, you go look in the mirror. That's your miracle worker looking at you. And I said, it's always a level playing field, always, and that never can change. And and I said, I appreciate that you really want to say that, but it's misguided. It's misguided if I let you continue down that road. It's misguided. And I said, I can just maybe dust off a corner of your brain where the divine spark is, and then it seems like this big bonfire, but it's already was lit inside you. So I really didn't do anything. I just kind of removed the blinders for a second so you could feel that, and it's all you. It's all you. And the guy's looking at me, and he was a little confused. And after a few minutes, he said, "Thank you for that." It's like, good.
So for me, miracle, it goes back to the same and simple and very easy teaching of the feather. Everybody look at the feather. So depending on where you stand in your life and your path, what would seem for somebody else it's a miracle might just be something very mundane for you. So it's all. So I guess the answer of the definition of a miracle, it's a personal thing. How you see it within your own eyes, within your own shoes. I did experiment of levitation for myself through a meditation. Was amazing experience. Got scared when it started to happen. So what the heck is going on? So maybe for somebody religious would have been something, oh, miracle. For me, it was just like it was a very good meditation. Something physical did happen. So it's not out of the extraordinary. I had a friend that passed away, a Cree lady, P. Maston Windtalker. She was telling me, she says, we were talking about ETs, extraterrestrial. She said she started to see them when she was 4 years old. She was scared the first time, but after that, she even talked with them. And I say, I wish I could see one. She says, open your brain, you might see them. They're all there. For her, they were part of us. Said it's your own personal limitation that can't make you see them. So if you open yourself, then maybe you'll see. So maybe I'll be one day open enough. Maybe I'll see them. Maybe I'll die without seeing them. But it's all part of our personal choice, personal action, personal experience, and personal path. Everybody has a different path. But often we always say the same thing, but in different ways. And we can't even argue with the walking turtle. saying the same thing. So we did experiments that we're all saying the same thing. There's language also. I work with people with a very different language, Asian, German, blah, blah, blah. So even when you try to translate, even if you use the highest technology there is, the Google, blah, 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 there, you miss the sense of stuff, so you miss part of the experiment. So I guess there's no good tools and there's no good explanation what a miracle is beside what you see from your own eyes, from your position in life. So that would be my definition of the miracle. The miracle is we're talking about miracle and trying to define it. That is a miracle because there's no real answer for it. It depends on you. My answer. Thank you.
No, I agree. I like, for me, when I share what I think it is, that's just for me, all about me in that moment, because like I don't have the right to try to determine that or say what it is for anybody else. So that's just been my incredibly limited experience of being here. So
Yeah, some people always tell me, Danny, you teach the same thing all the time. I say yes, because it covers everything, native spirituality and the native basis. If you can apply that to almost everything in your day, well, from waking up to go to bed, even at night, so, but it's so simple, but so useful, it just, you don't need to make your life very complicated to have your own answer. So just use simple tools and simple basic, and you can have all your answers that you need. So, yes, I'm boring. I repeat the same thing.
No, that makes perfect sense. That you
Yeah,
repeat because things are so simple.
Well, I've been teaching my own community for 6 years how to do a smudge. People can't smudge yet. I'm gonna make a mistake. I said, just do it. Let it come. I said, you've seen it enough. I said, just do it. Oh, I can't do it. I said, what? Gee, I said, sometime you'll have to do it. If I'm not there, somebody asks for a smudge. Somebody in the community needs to do it. So, But for me, it's like the Constitution in the system we have. It's like they have books that thick. The books of laws are that thick. I think we can summarize everything in the 2-page both sides there. We can have all the rules of one community. You don't need much stuff. So why make it complicated when it can be so simple? We're trying to define what.
If it's really simple, we wouldn't need to have the false economy and the false education system and the false medical system and all those other experiences for people to, and I say false as in their, like, a representation of where people are at, but that's not necessarily the power, right? The power is whatever they want to call it, creator God, in that experience.
So for me, it's very easy. A miracle would be whatever you define for yourself. That's what it is that you see something impress you. Oh, miracle. Call it the way you want it. For another person, it would be, hey, I've seen that 20 times before. So it's mundane, So it's basically it belongs to oneself, So I have my answer for this meeting, so I'm glad. Sorry. So then I can shut up. I have my own answer for you.
Even though you've seen it 20 times and we start to consider it mundane, isn't it still a miracle?
It still depends where you're standing with it. Maybe it takes 3 times before it becomes mundane. Who says? Who's right? Who's wrong? Who's seeing it from which angle?
Right.
What side of the feather are you looking at? So for me, it's the miracle in itself for me is that you just throw a feather in the middle of the group. Everybody looks, it's the teaching we were there. So when you understand that simple basic, that depending on where you stand, where you are looking, we all look at the same thing and everybody has a different vision. So then become the respect for others people then you can respect other people's vision or opinions, because you learned that with us, Jacqueline. It's easy to understand because I think all the kids should go through that when they're young. You learn the respect. So, hey, wow, you're a miracle. I'm glad for you. I said you should try to look for more, or less, depending where you are. We lost walking turtle. She didn't like my definition.
And for me, when we talk about looking at the feather, it's not just physically, right? It's emotionally. It's emotionally, like if you're always looking at stuff with lots of gratitude, then mundane actually has a hard time landing when you have lots of gratitude. If you don't have gratitude, things can turn to mundane because like you're just going like, who cares? Whatever, that's whatever, And if you're looking at anything with lots and lots of gratitude, you're going to look at it and go, oh, that was awesome. That was awesome. You can label it whatever you want, but you're not gonna slide into the mundane when you have great appreciation for things.
Yeah, well, my English is limited, so mundane came out just like that.
I know. Yeah.
So it's
I'm just expanding on what you were saying.
Yeah. No, but I do understand. I see. My little feather makes me respect your side of it, because
Well,
I like to use that feather as often as I can.
I'm glad you're holding the feather.
What we need to do is get a picture of the feather, and it can just be a speaker, and then it'll be in the pictures with everything in the middle, and keep everybody present on the.
I can't forget it. It's tattooed on me.
Have you talked to Jeremy?
No, I didn't talk. We texted back and forth, and so he is, let's just say, processing still. So I guess that's what I said. I said, just take the time that you need, right? Give yourself.
There's no rush.
Right. Integrate it all. So I think that's kind of sometimes what happens for some people is like they have an experience or they go to a course, the same thing, and they have, and they just want to get right back into it instead of allowing it to percolate.
Yeah.
Kind of like the trees coming out, and then it's even more of a miracle. Right? I look at this way the spring is springing, and it's like, that's, I guess, what you're saying, gratitude. It's like awe. It's like, how does that all happen? And each of them, they don't do it all at the same time. I'm watching the trees. Not every tree blossoms at the exact same time, right? Like they are doing it close together, but they're doing it on their own. Like there is a uniqueness about this process. Whereas before, I just would have thought, today's the day they all show up green.
I appreciate lots of things, but when the mosquitoes come out by the millions, I struggle with the appreciation of the mosquito just yet.
I think you were the one that said the mosquito is probably the most courageous creature on the planet.
Braver than anything on the planet, because I remember saying that because 100% everything wants to kill it, yet it still flies right at you, and it knows everything's going to kill it or eat it, and that's it. And that it still goes out into the world every day. Like that's, I just know that if I was a mosquito, I'd probably just starve to death.
Yeah, it's pretty courageous. Okay, I'm going to post up here. Carmen is saying, each time I see the feather, I remember that we can all have our own perspectives and that we are all right with our own perspective. Once again, as Jacqueline explained to me about the feather, which came through from Danny. It's Danny's teaching, or Eastern Eagles teaching, that I have repeated. See how your feather story is rippling across the planet.
You're muted, Danny.
I said maybe that's mean you will deserve one soon.
Probably.
I always deserve feathers.
We'll have to talk. You and I down
Deserving is
there.
what everybody is deserving. Okay, there isn't a I gotta do something to deserve it. Everybody's deserving. It's just timing of how things happen.
See where I stand in front of the feather, you need to deserve it. But that's because of my teaching. Because
So
of my
okay, so
teaching.
let's talk about that. So deserving it, isn't that like achieving something? What's the difference between deserving and like going, ooh, I did this.
No.
I get a
Write
nice
a passage for what you've done for your community. So you have to earn your feathers to be able to respect the feathers. It's more important than gold for us. So if we start to giving feathers to everybody, the feathers will lose the meaning of it.
They'll become
Ask any
mundane.
native. Huh?
They'll become mundane.
Yeah. So that you do, okay, I'll give an example. If you do a sweat lodge, okay. I started when I did my teacher, Guy Frigon, made me do, I think it was 3 or 4 firekeeper. Some people think that inside of the sweat lodge it's hard to breathe and hot and sweaty. Well, trust me, when you're the one making the grandfather is hot outside, I burn I lost some of those, and some of the air because it's so hot, So the hardest job is outside, carrying the firekeeper, And I asked my teacher, I said, why you make me do that more often than going into the sweat? He said, well, I said, Danny, you're thick, you need to think,
He knew you
I said,
no.
and he said, I said, one day you're gonna deserve your feather, so you're gonna, so it's not just in the sweat that you earn feathers. It's for what? See, you give away for your community to have a sweat by doing the firekeeper. So, and when you're quiet and you listen and you do the stuff, eventually you earn your own feathers. So,
Well, I think part of that too, I think, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's not whether, in my mind, I think you deserve a feather. It's when you're sitting there and you're praying and spirit says, yeah, they deserve a feather. That's when they get the feather.
it's whoever that's a pipe carrier or elder that see what I guess somehow. So it is a guess that self-sacrifice earn you some feathers because if you're ready to sacrifice a bit of yourself for your community, and the feather is not just a decoration; it's a tool. So like I would say that I don't know if you go to be an electrician, you don't get your card to go work at other people's house before you're certified somehow because you could cause fire or something by doing that. So I guess you have to learn how to respect your feather, to use your feather, to guide and whatever it is. So it's something you're gonna earn somehow, and I do think it's necessary that you do need to do some stuff to earn your feathers. Some people just get feathers like this. Me, it was hard because I know why mine was hard to get the first one, so.
Well, it's kind of like when so earn your feathers, earn your wings, or I have to tell you, there's some it's a missing.
Okay, walking turtle.
The concept of earning something goes against my vibe about that everyone's unique and everyone has their own journey and their own path. And so do I manifest something, or was that actually supposed to occur? So did I
Okay.
earn a feather, or was my elder or somebody just felt like they needed to give me a feather at that point? And their story is that I earned it, but did I earn it, or was it just that moment in time?
Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, uh, there's a lot of power within the feather. Okay, because when you're teaching, if you're teaching wrong thing, you can mess up people. Okay, if you teach the proper thing that you're supposed to do with your tradition, whatever, it's one thing. You probably will end up helping people, and that's part of the tool. Now, walking turtle, I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, and a fair one. I do have a licensed pilot to fly a plane. Okay, I haven't renewed my feather on my permit. Okay, for the last 7 years about. And if I go jump in a new plane without having earning some feathers on my shoulder to be able to drive that plane, are you gonna drive? Are you gonna come with me and just trust that the creator, while I take off, the creator will guide me to land safely? Or I may kill yourself or myself? A feather is a huge responsibility. You're gonna earn it for me. So sometimes believing in creator might get you in a bad situation that it's a life or death situation. You know, if an elder in a sweat receive information from people that had a very big trauma in their life and guides them in a very bad direction, using badly his teaching or his feather or whatever, make that person kill itself after because the bad teaching or whatever. I said, don't you have a responsibility? Don't you need to have a basic order? And for me, it's that the circle of life in the way of the native. There is a responsibility. There is a need to have a basic order because humans are kind of woohoo sometimes, you know. So if you want to give all your trust to the creator to come with me with the plane, I'll make sure I have a parachute. You may choose not to put the parachute, okay? But it'll be your choice, you know. But I will not fly that plane because I don't have the qualification, okay, or the necessary skills. Okay, it becomes to skills. Okay, to use a plane in a logical, practical, and a safe way. So for me, the feather would be compared as extreme as a plane in certain situation. You know, it's the same. Okay, if you give gold to everybody in the planet, gold is zero value. Ooh, monetary system we value through the gold. You know, hey, we need a way to exchange in the modern world. People say money is dirty. Money is this. Money no. Money is what people make of it. Use the money in the good sense. You'll make good. Money could be good. Hey, use the money to criminal do stuff. Hey, money is bad. It's all what you make out of it. So for me, the feather has you need to earn it, and that was my teaching. And I'm sorry, but I'll stick to my traditional ways on that one. You know. So I will. I agree to argue a long time with you. And it will come. Trust me. I know you and I will have
I
a lot
honor
of friction at some point.
I honor your perspective of the feather. However, my perspective of the feather is a different perspective, and yet you want to argue with me.
It's not that, okay? It's that I do respect your side of it, okay? But if you want to jump in the plane with it, go ahead. I won't.
See, if I felt guided to jump in the plane, I would jump in the plane and I would trust the creator runs the universe. If I was guided, if I was like in that sense, because I would be trusting. Now, someone might say it's a miracle that the plane is flying without Danny having his certification. However, if I felt that I was to be in there and that was what was to happen, then I would think that that's like natural because I have that faith in what I'm guided to do. The situation is that from my perspective, is
Okay.
when people feel they need to do something to be better. they're missing their magnificence in the moment.
It's we did fire walk. I showed you the photo, So and they you spend 2-3 hours, or even longer, to prep yourself for the fire walk, So I don't know if I would just go in it and without preparation and just walk through it. I don't know if I would have the feeling of getting creative to say, yeah, walk on it, because I have zero preparation, So your fires, your whatever you do, is to prepare yourself, So basically, for me, what you're saying is that if you would only trust creator, no school, no rules, no law, no nothing. Everybody do everything they want. There's gonna be a lot of chaos in your community. So because I've been doing a lot of spiritual thing for years, and I get half of it wrong most of the time. So and I've been practicing. So because it goes through a human. When it goes through a human, we lose some of it. So the human factor comes in. And I've seen human doing good things, but I've seen human doing bad things, and I was a good example of it. But you want to walk on your turtle on your way, you do it. I respect it. I respect you stand for it. So.
Okay, so symbols for the soul, who I Mr. says, doubt and trust cannot coexist. You can either live in, where are we here? In co-creation with God, or live in fear, right? So I'm going to suggest that Thunder Bear wants to jump in this dialogue, because he's seen you and I go around and round and round and round. and he wanted to end it 2 hours earlier than it went. No, so jump in now while you can.
Well,
I'll mute myself.
My view on a lot of things, like, I guess in the New Age movement, there's all kinds of, like, you can buy a crystal and change your life, and you can go probably find an eagle feather and have it change your life, or what, all that stuff. And to me, beyond all the belief in it, is a crystal in the hands of someone who that crystal is not speaking to is just a rock. It's really, it can be beautiful, it can be all kinds of things, but it's the same with a feather, like one that the feather talks to you and has something to do with you. It's a wonderful tool. And someone that just finds a feather like it's an ornament, it hangs it on their wall, it's just a feather. It's just a feather. So we get to, by who we are, it decides what it is. So the eagle feather in the hands of someone that has some connection with the feather, then it's a wonderful, wonderful tool, and I, at the same time too, even someone with the right teachings that is going down a darker path, it's a tool as well, but it doesn't have the same results. And it's the same in every aspect of our lives, I think. You can surround yourself with all kinds of trinkets and rocks and all the perfect incenses and all that sort of stuff, and unless it's speaking to you, or our spirit has motivated you to move in that direction, then it's just, might as well just be like a rock on the beach. It's nothing special. So that's what's missing for most people that run out and get all the stuff. Like, I used to carry around lots of stuff. I had all kinds of rocks. I love rocks. Rocks are, to me, is like one of the most beautiful artworks out there. I just love them. I had to stop doing that because, well, I still would, but like, I don't view them as something spiritual. And then the odd one, when I have found a couple that are very spiritual to me, and they speak to me and I work with them. But like, for anyone else, if someone else just come up and decided they wanted to steal that rock from me, then it just is a rock. It's just a rock, and something else will replace it at some point. So I don't worry about it. Like, I think I shared with Jacqueline before about like, if I went through customs and they wanted to take my pipe, do I want them to take my pipe? Absolutely not. But to them, it's just a rock and a piece of wood. They have no concept of it. So it's just perspective on that, and where you're coming from, and how you want to live your life, and what's inside of you, and how you're living what's inside of you, that determines what it is that anything you hold in your hand. Like I'm sure you could pick up a pencil and have it work miracles if that's where you're at.
Well, me coming here is about, I guess I put myself in the box as through native vision, my native visions.
Yeah.
So for the native, it has the meaning, and that should be respected. You know.
Yes.
So, but as you say, some people view this as a magic tool, So if you want to use that, but how many New Age communities started to do things and it turned out to be really bad?
Yes.
There's a few, drink the Kool-Aid, So because one guy self-proclaimed himself as a guru, and everybody drink the Kool-Aid and end up dead also. So you gotta be
Yeah, there
careful.
was there was a guy, I guess, about maybe 6 years ago that was claiming all kinds of indigenous knowledge, and he killed somebody in the sweat lodge. That was about
Yeah.
8 years ago or something like that. I forget what it was.
So that comes like to my plane thing, So you got to be careful, and there's a reason why there's things, So if I want to do something with Jacqueline as a native, okay, and embrace nativeness, okay, for me she has to not conform, but at least respect the way we do the process, because they need to be processed, on something, my vision. But, we still gave her 15 years old most of the time. But we love her this way, So it's kind of that child innocence that we love about her, So, but she already got a little feather, I told her to practice slowly.
I'm practice. So here's so I was in a, I think pretty much everybody's heard this story, but I'm saying it for the viewers, okay? So or if it rings a bell in some other way. I was in a sweat with an elder who is designed to lead sweats. And I look at it that the elder is designed to lead a sweat because that's his task, because in the process of him doing these things, he's also learning about himself. That's my perspective, because that elder was still smoking cigarettes, okay? And from my perspective, even though tobacco is an honorable thing in the Native community, that can still have some health issues. He had some health issues. And in the sweat, when we got to the healing round, the third round, he said, scoop the strawberries out, pass them around because of COVID. And when we got out of everything, the third and the fourth round were done, I went over to him and I said, did you feel a little inauthentic when you mentioned COVID as we were doing the healing round? And he said, well, I got to follow protocol. And I said, that wasn't my question. My question was, did you feel out of like inauthentic? That comes back to my word. Did you, when you mentioned COVID, is we were just saying we're calling in the ancestors for healing? And he goes, well, yeah, sorta. And I said, well, so then maybe next time you just don't mention the word COVID. You say, if you need to follow protocol, you say you scoop the strawberries up, put them in your hand, and pass the bowl around. So for me, I noticed the difference in the vibe, right? For me, he's leading this, but that's what it was. It still felt off for me. And so sometimes I have experienced, and that's my own personal journey, is I have met Native elders that
they're not perfect.
It's not because you're a native elder that you have you're not like do you think the Pope and the priests are all perfect? You know, it's
Exactly. That's my
I,
thing. So just
yeah, but
because somebody's a pope or a thing or a native elder or a premier doesn't mean I generally respect them. That's a part of earning my respect, just like earning a feather. It's like I will have my experience. I'll trust them. I'll trust the experience, and then I'll make my perception.
see, I don't give my trust so easily, not even to elders, So it's trust something to be earned too. I'll give you an example. This guy Foot there, when AIDS started, so he was one of the first elder that we know of that was going to make sweats and the pipe ceremony with the AIDS, the people that were actually had AIDS, and everybody would told him, he said, "You're crazy, man." They said they have AIDS. It goes through. You'll catch AIDS. He said, "No." He says, "I do believe and that my secret pipe is protected from all that." I said, "It's there for the people to help the people." So he never got AIDS. Maybe his belief. Maybe his belief in the pipe or the power of the pipe or the power of the ceremony that prevent him from getting it. So he never got it. But I think that if somebody has a pipe and doesn't trust the pipe can save him through that situation, should not do a pipe ceremony. It comes to the same thing as walking on fire. If when you're in front of it, if you don't believe you're gonna make it, don't do it. You won't appreciate it, So for me, go back to that. That is a powerful tool that I use, okay? Because for me, I've earned it and I've earned the right to use it and I use it and I try to use it as best as I can in the best positive situation, I would not want to try to use that tool because it is a tool, in a bad situation because I don't think I would be first a good human. I would not show respect for any other humankind, and I think would be misleading people. So I would not use that tool. So it becomes just a tool. So if I go to Australia and I see the native over there using the long pipe, the thing there, I'd love to try one of those. And
Didgeridoo?
I don't know what they call it, the long thing there, the music, like
Didgeridoo. Yeah. It's
the
called
what?
a didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo. Well, I would love to assist in their ceremony, and if they don't use feathers, if they use other tools, I'd be glad to enjoy that. Learn and everything, and respect their tradition also. So indigenous people do have a certain a big knowledge, that was almost lost, and that's why we're trying to bring it back. And I'm sorry, a elder that I could trust. I tried since this guy died. I tried 3 of them, and 3 of them were influenced by money. I'm not about money. I don't care. Money. I eat. I drink. I sleep. I have it rains in the house, but so that's another story. When the rain stopped, so when the rain stopped, I'd be full. I would have billions, and I don't know what to do. So it's.
So in defense of Danny and how he talks about the order of things, there are.
In my defense, I like that.
Yeah. And not that you need defense.
Yeah, we're not fighting. We're just different side of the feather.
But just backing it up a little bit.
Okay.
The reason that there's protocols and there's ways of earning things is because you start tapping into lots of energy, which equates to lots of power. And if we have power without the responsibility of that power too soon, too fast, too quick, then whether you're a good person or a bad person might go right out the window because you just don't know how to deal with it. That's the conversation I had with Jeremy on the weekend, that he's going to have a hard time. He's played with energies for fun for so long and he's never tried to discern which energy was which. That's why he was really confused when he showed up and started talking to us. I said, so you're going to have to start sorting that energy. And I said, the problem you're going to have is that dark energy gives lots of kudos. You'll get people saying, wow, that's good, that's good, that's good. Dark energy gives you, you can get lots of money any which way, but it tends to fall in the narcissistic thinking of like, boy, am I ever good? And you can twist it and earn piles of money, and you can get all the girls and women you want. It's like there's a very slippery slope without the balance. And so I agree that there has to be some sort of protocol, but for me, I do it. For me, is always about like when spirit just says to me, and I really believe that, I act on that. I don't, and the protocols that I've learned and hear about, I respect them, but my overriding one is always about when spirit says do that, because if it sometimes, most of the time it does line up with protocols that I've learned, but sometimes it doesn't. And when I feel that, I just have to do that anyways.
Thunder Bear, can you be my official spokesperson? Because
Well,
you know, I'm French. Although I speak,
he said at the end, if it doesn't line up with that. And so I have been with him when everything goes clockwise, or the pipe is supposed to go in a clockwise direction and the pipe turned around and shifted in the other direction. So I think what's important for people to get is that as much as we value, there's a certain tradition, and we can say it's about the amount of power that comes with it. That's also, from my perspective, if I'm trusting source or creator, that's the next experience. So that might be the task somebody needs to go through, or the experience for them to go, wow, I got lots of power, or this is not power, or this is different frequencies from taking on a certain tool or task, right? It's like you felt a difference when you use the shaker, right? The rattle on the weekend, right, Thunder Bear?
Yeah.
So you explain maybe or say a little bit about like you used to use it, then you didn't use it, and then what made you pick it up?
Well, I want to, before I get into that, I want to share this. It's, oh God, my thought just evaporated on me there.
I shook the shaker to change the direction.
Yeah, no, I know that. It'll come to me in a minute. But okay, so the shaker a long time ago, that was the first thing that I used actually in native ways was the shaker, and I really liked the shaker. And what I got out, like, it wasn't taught to me. What I learned from the shaker is that sound of the rattle helps dissolve the space between us and spirit, so that you can come together much more easily. It kind of, it's like if you got soapy water, you can't see the water because all the bubbles, and you got to kind of clear all the bubbles to see the water. It's sort of like that shaker is the thing, that vibration just kind of clears the way, so spirit can, and whoever is dealing with it can actually become one.
yeah. It's also like the gling, 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 gling in the park for the ice cream truck, So that attracts the kids. So the shaker, the rattles, the spirits like that sound. So, Walking Turtle.
Hold on. So what made you decide to pick up the rattle? What was it? Because I used to use the rattle, I should use this, or did you get a thought to use it on me? Or
I didn't have the thought. It came to me just to use the rattle. So, and I looked at it and I asked Danny if I could touch it because it was his, and he said, yeah, go ahead. So, and that's why, like, even when I was sitting there just before I worked with Danny, he said, like, spirit said to me, you have to use something that he's familiar with, and he just happened to pass me the feather. I said, because then he'll understand. He'll get what he needs to get out of this. And so that's why I ran over and grabbed the feather and come back, and and then it was perfect anyways, because Jeremy he just got his name the night before, and it was Eagle, so it was like, okay, so it was a miracle.
Yeah, but see, my vision was clearer this time than the other time with you, Thunder Bear.
Yeah.
And it was even outside in physical manifestation. So
Yeah. Well, I think
okay. Walking Turtle is you know when people have switch in their life, okay, from business or to spiritual or whatever. So sometimes there's like a declick, like that. People are one ways and poof, one day to another day they become like they eat, drink, and study everything that's spiritual. Like, oh, they got that call, the spiritual calling. For me, it's that's where it's dangerous. Because they go. You remember we compare one person as a grasshopper. Go jump there, okay. Oh, I do the chakra. After that, I do the hot yoga. After that, I do the Falun Gong, the Asian, and that, and blah blah blah. So they go all over the place, okay. And most of them, at the end, they are so confused, okay, that they lose their spirituality, okay. They had a big enlightenment thing, but they were misguided by going all over the place. Okay, so for me, that's why there is some basic thing that we need to do, because our job, because it's our job, is it a job? No, it's not a job. Our role, when we're invested by elders or whatever it is that we're invested by, to teach or to share some knowledge. I take it as extremely serious, and not to put ourselves in a higher place, just as much as we can help, as much as we could do damage too. So I'm trying to be to stay in the realm of what my own knowledge is, or my own understanding of what I should share. So, and before I used to prepare what I will do, and now, I trust. Somebody said something. If you don't trust enough the creator or whatever, well, when I do things, I just let everything come true, and whatever come true, I never know what's gonna go through. Thunder Bear does the same thing. I don't prepare. I don't think he does prepare, because what should come out in one specific situation will come out. So I guess for me, it's part of that. And I do feel a high responsibility whenever we do ceremony or whatever, because my human side, may come in conflict with the spiritual sometimes. Sometimes it's still hard for me sometimes to balance which side was talking, So that's why sometimes when I have a doubt, okay, because yes, I'm human, not perfect. I have a lot of fault. And sometimes I go and at night I ask them, I say, please, if I miss something, enlighten me so I can come back. So that's why, like with you, I said, hey, take your time. I might have the real answer eventually. And it came. I knew in the morning, basically, most of what you share is something that I was passed down, and I wanted to talk with you alone. So, then I got the validation I was on the right path. They were, those. So always, I think I'm scared sometimes of my own human side when I do something, that I would do something wrong. So although we try, well, I'm always with a honest heart and an honest mind. So if I do harm, it will not be intentionally. So, but we're not above making mistakes. So and I don't mean mistake in the traditional sense of we should do the pipe this way or that. They're just making, we're not we're not immune to make mistakes, or so if I would make something that somebody have a bad reaction to something, I would feel it for a long time. So I will try to avoid this. So, and I think that by doing my steps and everything does help me personally to guide me on what to do. Personal choice.
I remembered what I was going to say. So I want to say it before I forget again. That took 10 minutes to remember. So, and this still falls in line with traditional teachings. Is for me, it's slightly different from anyone who's not a contrary, because I know I am a contrary. I'm the Wendigo, which always brings change, and it always kind of, yeah, it just brings change. And so with the Wendigo spirit, which I'm very well acquainted with, even though I know, like, I got the certain directions in the certain order for the pipe. A couple of times I was doing that and the pipe just spun around and went to another direction. I'm pretty fluid and pretty comfortable with that. And that's why when, like even when I was at Fredericks, we were talking about stuff. I said, I am not the one you really want to come to if you want very specific teachings about that, because being of the Wendigo, like it's a, what I understand of the Wendigo is it's able to do things in ways that from the outside looking in, you might think that's not how it's done and that's disrespectful. But in my heart is very clear of that. And it's not disrespectful, and it's not breaking the tradition. It's just how it works when you're a contrary sometimes. So I don't know how to really get into that a whole lot, because like it's when everyone's square dancing, I'm dancing in a circle. You know what I mean? Like, and and I do my very best to always show and have my respect for whatever teachings are there. Like even when the first time we were at Danny's house, and I said, like, I want to honor you on your house. How do you do this? And that meant more to me for him to show me that than for me to do what I did, because that's always just how it operates for me. Because like when Danny was saying, I have to keep my heart clear, and that's the key for me always, is to keep my mind clear and my heart clear, and that's where I can make the best decisions. And that's why even being a Wendigo has been very challenging so many times in my life, because those tend to be like the yin and the yang that are just spinning and almost never seem like they're on the right page. And I just have to just trust that I am. And it's a little out there. It's weird. It's out there, and I wish I could explain it better, but like Wendigos are easy to spot unless they can hide it well, like myself.
Well,
If you-
what if most, okay, like I know at the moment we're saying that Wendigos are like the rare breed, kind of like, the indigo children, the rainbow child, that label. And what if contrary is actually a characteristic of all of us, except
It is.
we've habitually trained to be compliant. And so contrary is to be able to trust your guidance. I completely get that when you're in someone else's house or home, you want to respect their principles, right? It's like when I went to the sweat, I respected everything he did, and I only asked him at the end of everything was done, and we were chilling. Did the elder feel an inauthenticity? So I went with the process. I get that I'm seeing in some of the cases where, Danny, you have invited me, like up to Pavino Falls, that I probably I didn't realize.
Good catch. Good catch.
You say it, huh?
I lacked respect, okay, because I was being so playful with the energies. So I see that. So thank you for pointing that out and being so good to jump in quickly, Greg, to validate that I.
But as I mentioned, we do love you the way you are. We don't want to change that, you know. So, but now we know we can. Now I know I can expect, you know, that from you. You know, why you think it took me so long to get my first native, my native name and my first feathers? Because I was controversial. I was always asking why. Well, no, it shouldn't be this way. It should be this way. Until I learned to shut up and just understand the true meaning of the teaching, you know. So then I say, oh, now you understand why it's so important. So that's for it, you know. That's for me. But I do want to make a job offer to Thunder Bear official spokesperson, because he says in English with all the good words and everything. Well, I think, but I cannot express myself in that way in English. You know, my English is limited to military talk, which is not so nice.
And
Hey, I did not swear tonight. I did not swear yet.
There you go.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm doing
Right.
better.
So Jacqueline,
Yeah.
yes, the contrary thinking is available to everybody. So it doesn't make me unique in that way, but it's the same as like not everyone is born with red hair. Not everyone was born with blue eyes. And there's like if you want to do this statistical breakdown of that, there's percentages of different things that are more prone to some people than other people. And it's supposed to be that way. Like we've talked about this. It takes all kinds, right?
Here I am.
Like what you do isn't what I do. What Danny does isn't what I do. Is it available to be, you know, can I get a taste of it? Yeah, but like I still need to do what I'm really good at.
Okay.
And he needs to do what he's really good at, and you too, right? And that's what makes it work. That's what makes it work. So, and that Wendigo is stronger in me than it is other people. It doesn't make me special. And I mean,
Okay,
everyone
what?
else has got their areas of where they're have stronger energies and stronger callings.
Well, I
Okay,
think
what?
that's the point, is together we make the whole, right? Like this is one of the reasons that I love that Tanya is here with us, is because so many people that live in North America, you know, or in the Western world tend to think that's the world. They're in Europe or they're North American, like that's the world. We're in springtime. Well, actually, no, the other half of the world is in autumn, right? Like it's that concept of how limited even that one perception of what's going on in the world. It's like, is it down under or is it up over? Right? Like it's this balancing
I would
out.
go through the middle.
Yes, it could be in the middle. It could be flat, right?
Quick. Has to be quick.
So inside Walking Turtle, all my life I felt I never fitted in any groups or what, and I tried a lot of stuff. Okay, a lot. You guys knows a bit more about me though, and I never felt, as I said, poor, rich, one woman or five women per day. Nothing would make me feel totally happy. Yeah. I was saying five women at the same time, and they
I
all
know,
knew about it.
I'm like, that was a busy guy. Okay, 5 women.
Yeah, but you know what? But I was never truly happy, you know. So I went into making a lot of money, and I bought toys, you know. So one week, you know, so when you start, you buy a nice motorbike. After that, it was a plane, you know. So, and I was happy only for 3 weeks. After that, I needed something. So maybe why I'm so strongly attached to my native roots or my native traditional ways, because they're the one that took me into my spiritual path, and for me it works. Okay, so it don't mean it works for anybody else. Okay, so but I'm the kind of guy that needed some guidelines because you know. So for me, some guidelines were good in my life. You know, if I always say, and I told my kids. You know, I even think now, although I don't like the military and everything it represents and everything, I said if a kid quit school too young, they should make him do 3 years of military. My own idea, because if I did not go there, I would probably be dead or being in jail. You know, so then after that, I was drilled like this. You know, so and it was pushed in my throat. You know, which I didn't enjoy so much. I quit after 3 years. You know, but it probably prevent me from doing other way more stupid thing than I was doing. So I would say that I'm truly happy in life because I found my own spirituality and I'm happy to share it with other people. And but I will only share it if I feel that I'm doing positive, and that's my only reason why I'm doing it. And the native does need a bit of help, you know, because they were very badly taken care of for a long time, you know. So and I personally think that their spirituality for me is above any religion because there's no person on top. It's circular. I do think that the women are more intelligent than men when it comes to take crucial decision. Yeah, you can ching ching. I would not have said that many years ago, you know, because you know that's what I say. I said two men are peeing beside each other. We look to pee farther, you know. Then we can have a fight about that, you know. The two women look is gonna look at us and look at the two guy fighting for the ego thing, you know. So they're more reflect. And when a woman give birth, you know, so before sending their kid to war, they're gonna think more than 5 minutes about it. You know, they're gonna see if it's really worked for it. So for me, it fill all all the check mark that was needed in my life at that time. You know, but it and it's also there's so much to learn. I think I don't have enough of this lifetime to finish to learn everything that was there because most of it was lost. Okay, or it's still because we're losing elders every day, and most of the ceremony were lost. So the bit that I've learned, I'm happy to share. But the only way that we can do more, and that's where there's no right or wrong. I try to honor the traditional ways the best I was taught of, and I will respect that. But I often just go AWOL and let everything go because there's nobody else to teach me. They're mostly all dead. I am the elder. The bear is the elder at her age, you know. So no, we do what I guess that the creator tell us to do, and hopefully we do right. We don't do wrong, you know. So as a human being, I think it's important, you know. So
I
that's it.
I totally get, Danny, like when you said that the native way has basically given you that sense of community and peace, right? And a whole new perspective. Because for me that was how I felt coming to the teaching of Bruno Gruning, because he was so simple and it didn't depend on anybody anymore, right? It depended on myself, convincing myself of what was true and noticing what I noticed, et cetera, et cetera. So that for me was interesting as we're bringing this up, since that was something I had to get rid of the dependency on. But that was, so this is, I guess, relevant for some of the people listening. So it's a sense of that's what brought me to really trust and let go and really expand and see miracles that are just natural and all this good stuff. Then it becomes what I experienced, like at your place, was this, I've been attached to it, right? It's like Greg says, you start to hold on to something and then you didn't let go. So it's like you hold on, you have experiences, you embrace them, they become part of you, and then you move into the next experience. And so this next experience for me is being fully aware of all the little things that I don't know pertaining to Native culture and Native teachings. And in that, it's a whole new realm of possibility. And so it's like when we did the first smudge, and I was saying I used to think spirit came from up above, and it felt like it was coming from below. Like, that's the best way I could describe it. It was that the land is speaking to me versus the angels or the spirit above. But yet it's all great spirit is in you and all around you. So it's simply my perspective, and shifting it now is what I'm doing without being completely attached to what brought me that sense of peace and freedom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you explain exactly what I was saying earlier, that you're going to be very aware when people have their spiritual enlightenment or they decide to go there. Often they're fragile because they can tend to see spirituality as a life buoy, or a savior or something. Spirituality is something that should be a natural thing, not you know. If you're on a boat, a life raft for your own life, because then when you're on the life raft, you know, you don't, all you see is water around. There's nothing else. So you have to experience everything else that there is in life. We have to be careful. How we use our tools. So it is a somehow of an important job all we share. So if you go too much on one side, sometimes you become like blindfolded. Only that. So you might miss big part of your life, of your human experience, because you focus only on one thing. Any focus into a one thing become a pyramid. Okay. So anytime you put somebody at the pyramid, so for you, if Bruno was on top of your pyramid, you missed out on something.
No,
So
you
no,
missed
I'm not saying he was. No, listen.
pyramid.
No, I'm not saying he was, but I said every time it's like the adulation of one thing. So we gotta be careful on that. That's why.
Like
So
the feather.
yeah, no, the feather is the tool, sister. Just now, be careful.
Bruno was a tool. That was it. I mean, that's what he
No,
said.
no, no. Well, I'm
I'm
not
just a
comparing.
tool.
I'm
That
just.
was the words. I'm just a tool. Here we go, Dan. Ready, Thunder Bear? Let's see.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Round we go. Okay.
We gotta be careful when people become spiritual, not to put anybody on top like that, because then it could become malicious thing. So that's why I say people say go do your experience. So I'm scared when people go too much in one thing. They want to do everything and learn everything, so fast, and they don't take the time to do the experience and everything. And that's kind of pushed me away. So, I don't want to be their teacher because they're gonna get burned. So I don't want to have that on my conscience. So I like slow, and I still have a few years to give to for that. So take it easy.
That's what we talked about too the other day, Jacqueline, is if I walked up to someone and just said, okay, I'm going to tell you all about yourself, where you're going, what you're doing, and bestow upon them a boatload of energy, they have not earned the energy. They haven't they have not earned the energy, yes, because they have to build your bodies. Our bodies are a vehicle that we have to build and condition to learn how to deal with the energy properly. And for me to go up to someone and put that blob on them obviously is like a misuse of the gift right off the get-go. But besides all of that, looking at it from the other person's perspective, they haven't had all their successes and failures to build the vessel that can hold the energy properly. But even all that being said, I'll say that I believe the energy work that I do furthers that vessel faster than just, than I don't know what the word, like, I think it just does it faster. I was going to compare it to something, but I think it moves that along at a quicker pace than one would have done on their own.
I would say you open a channel.
And I would like to say that what I've noticed is sometimes when somebody has, let's say, some spontaneous
Combustion,
realization, or all of a sudden comes into some power or an amazing healing, is that if they haven't yet developed all enough experiences to hold that, they will have that for a while, but they will lose it.
Yes.
Okay, because you're gonna have to learn those experiences. So sometimes I've heard people think they've achieved a certain level, and then they might be going one step forward, two steps back. You've heard people say that, right? Oh, I'm, you
Yeah.
know, which to me is you're going backwards. Is that they have yet to fully embody the experiences they need to do to hold that perception or power or whatever you want to call it, that energy.
Yeah.
They'll learn it one way or the other.
And that building that vessel is what Danny was talking about earlier about earning your feather. The vessel has been built in a way that actually knows everything about a feather, but knows the responsibility of it and how to use it to a certain degree. And that vessel was built through giving to the community.
And I would like to say that from my experience, sometimes people just get tasks because that's their task and their experience. And so they might earn a feather, quote unquote, but that is their experience they need to have in order for them to reach their next experience.
For
like
sure.
Danny was saying, which sometimes which is the guidance that he's coming. That's because Danny has the feather and he's learning that. Now, maybe it's because Tanya and I are female and we identify as female also.
I've never heard Tanya say that yet, so I don't know.
She, her. or just me.
Oh, okay. As long as we got that clear, that's good.
We have a different connection, just normally, because we have a different resonance with the planet. That's how women are wired, right? Through our menstruation, or following the moon cycle, however you want to go with it. So there is this other awareness that you guys have yet to experience because you're identify as men.
Yeah.
And you can't argue that one at this point, Danny. So I'm going to say that.
I have a question for you, though. Are you ready? Okay, I said, do you know why a woman in the moon don't go into the sweats?
Because they're open or releasing. Which is it?
Because they're way too spiritually strong when they go into a sweat. And the moon, the connection there, the clean, because you're already in a process of cleansing. You don't need a sweat to cleanse you. You're already in the process. But the women are highly, very spiritually strong during that time. So so that you don't need a sweat through that time. You already have a automatic cleansing. And yes, women do have a different connection than men. And if we would all have the same connection, humanity would have stopped. So you need.
Can I just ask a question then? Because I have experience with this. So you've answered me a question for why that, because I did attend a sweat lodge when I was in my teens, but I wasn't allowed to participate for that reason. But
Okay.
It wasn't explained to me. So while everyone else and my mother participated in that, I sat out in the rain for several hours until they finished. So for me, I was a bit pinged off about it, but it was never explained to me why. So my question though is, like, that was good. Thank you for explaining that. But can you not receive more though? Is there not more even though?
It's a smudge. A sweat is part of a cleansing, through the sweating and everything. But your body is already cleansing you. So if you go into a sweat, might be too much, So you might have an adverse reaction because on top of all the sweat and everything, and your body is already cleansing itself, you know, and you are 85% of the women are menstruate are on the moon around almost at the same time, you know, going through the cycle, you know, around the globe. So your connection to Mother Earth, to the tides and the moon is very strong, you know. So if you put another layer of cleansing on top of it, might make more damage than good. Our ancestors must have had that happen, so they say, oh no, you know, it's not because it's dirty or anything. It's more because it's the cleansing. You know, you already have it.
I was just trying to clarify, because I was trying to understand when you were saying, like, because they're more spiritually open, or however you described it.
Women
I
are
also
strong at
guess I
that
was
time.
not feeling especially spiritual on that night.
Well,
But
see,
that's good. That was
see,
it makes sense. Thank you.
see, Tanya,
Well,
maybe if somebody would have taken the time to explain to you, you would have a totally different view or outcome of that time, because maybe you would
Yes.
appreciate your time outside by understanding what was there. So that's
Yes.
why that every time I got one new person in a circle, I'm gonna restart from the beginning, and all my people say, oh, I'm fed up with you saying the same goddamn thing again. You know, I said, well, there's one new person, I need to respect that, to give them, you know, because sometimes you just see. That's why I say that our role is kind of important when we teach, you know, or we share something, because it's not a teaching. We're just sharing a personal experience because we went through it and we learned it, and it's a sharing, I guess, more than even a teaching. But if people take the time to give the proper teaching, you know, it was explained to me that our ancestors knew that, you know. I don't know when they find out that that could be more damaging than doing good, because of it. But because my other took the time to actually explain to me, so now I can share with you, and now it can make sense to you, you know. So that's why, even though I argued with my elders all the time, they said, "Shh, just learn to listen. We got 2 ears. You're gonna listen twice as much as you talk." And I talk a lot, so it was very hard for me, you know. So there's people laughing there. I know why, because after 2 days with me, they're like that, you know. So I'm verbomoteur. So I was going to say something for you, Walking Turtle, that came up. Okay, we remember when we went to the powwow at Red Bank, Merabinagua. Okay. About the native and the respect, because my mom was not supposed to go into the grand entry dance, you know, when you come in and everything. Okay, but she forgot that she needed a dress. She was in jeans, but she was excited, so she went. So all the women looked at her, but none of them said one word. Okay, they look at her, and afterwards she went and she asked, "Why they all looking at me?" I said, "Mom, you're in jeans." I said, "They're all in dress. Why do you think they are in dress? Women all have a dress." And some people say, "Oh, we should be all in jeans, and we don't care. You can wear a tutu if you want." No, it's a power, you know. So it's just a respect, but nobody gave her grief, you know. So nobody said anything. They just looked at her, but not in a bad way. They just looked, hey, she's coming to grand entry, you know. But none of them just went to say one word, you know, out of respect. So then she came and asked. I said, hey, you know, I even forgot to tell her to bring a dress, you know. But I did not think that she would want to do the grand entry. But you know, so next year she said, oh, I'm bringing a dress next year. She won't be looking at me. Yeah, that's Joanne.
no, Carmen.
Carmen, she looked like Joanne, man. I mixed them.
You're muted, Jackie. You're
I
muted.
don't tell you. So that's it. It was just something that came out, you know. So although I'm very traditional most of the time, I'm gonna, you know, let things slide. I'm not slapping nobody. I'm just saying, "Hey, next time, could you please?" I'm not that kind to slap people. I take their feathers away.
Okay, well, I'm gonna quite contrary, and then I'm gonna suggest that Thunder Bear then close off with some energy. So in the concept of menstrual cycle and the moon cycle and the women, you have heard of Gloria Steinem?
Yes.
Yes. So she was Miss Feminist. So she wrote in her book that if men had menstrual cycles, they would be bragging in the locker room how big their cycle was. Like,
Yeah.
my cycle's so big. Okay. The flow is so good. And I can't do anything. They'd be like, I got to rest for 5 days. Okay. Because that's it. And yet the women have been, traditional would say, take the time to rest, stay out of the tent, you're releasing. But we've got on this cycle now where women, like in traditional world. So, if we get onto Gloria Steinem's thing, we can start to brag about it and rest. No.
You have the power to give life. It's a big, big thing.
I've said for years that men have to discover spirituality, and women every single month get reminded of it. Because, like, for sure, men have something to do with the babies, but we have no say in generating the life or discharging the life from the body. And women can do that. That's outside of our reality, and that's what I learned from that is there's, I think, certain things that women can really help women with, and men got to stay out of it.
Well, I've witnessed the 3 births of my child, and I would say I wouldn't have changed the place. So women are brave. Women are brave. I do think that women endure pain more than us, more than men.
If men give birth, one of your friends would have a kid, and then nobody else would.
Can I add just a thing that I was thinking of when you were saying, Danny, but like that women are smarter than men, when you were talking before, and I was just thinking, but we have relationships with men. So how smart are we?
Well,
we appreciate that.
If we're that
that's
smart,
all
we'd be
women
lesbians.
does. Now everything is a choice nowadays. Yeah,
My perspective is I choose to believe that yes, we are wonderful in our feminine, but men balance out. Together
we make a better whole.
Together, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was meant this way, but so Greg, you should write a book, inspiring book about.
Yeah. So
We'll get you to start to write some.
well, yeah, if we get him to write, that'll be the day. I will say, hey, have you write that thought down there? Okay, so he'll speak it out maybe. He's very good at telepathically communicating this or letting it be. So I'm just going to suggest we just open up, or however it is you want to do, tune into your heart, to joy, and we'll finish off with some beautiful presents. How's that?
You see, so woman taking the last word. So thank you.
You just spoke it.
Oh.
But I got it in there. No.
I knew. I would have bet you would come back. So you didn't pass the test, Walking Turtle. Okay, I mute myself so I won't talk. Bye, everyone.
Okay, see ya.